So for those who don't know, it's Olympic basketball time, and there's so many things to just talk about. LeBron, 40 years old, still looking dominant. AD's been amazing. Should he start over Embiid? Curry's out there hooping. Anthony Edwards is hooping. And the rest of the world as a whole, the conglomerate of talent has elevated over the past 4 to 8 years, and we've really seen a lot of that trickle over into the NBA as well. And actually, the rest of the world is caught up so much so that during some of these preliminary preseason games before the actual tournament begins, USA has been coming real close to losing. I mean, Germany almost beat us, and then South Sudan, one of the biggest near upsets we've seen in quite some time. We only beat them by 1 point, and they played amazing. They played hard, shot really well, and there's a lot of things to break down, right? X and O's, timeouts, play calling, who you want to start a lineup, adjustments, rotations, so many things to talk about, right? But let's see what Gil wants to discuss about. Let's see what Gilbert Arenas, ex-NBA player who complains about the media all the time about how they cover the sport, let's see what he has to say, because I know he has good insight. I know he does.
Almost lost to some Africans. The king had to save us. We almost lost to the Ahi tribe. This is crazy. Man, Embiid over there, goddamn throwing the game. He throwing the game for his cousins and shit. Come on, man. Cool Runnings. We're not supposed to lose to the Cool Runnings team. They don't even have shoes. They get their shoes from America. We got to ship them shoes. They don't even have basketball ribs, though. Manu Bull, I seen he had to walk, an hour and a half to go shoot basketball. We losing to people who don't even, they got baskets in the back. They shooting on peach baskets in dirt, no shoes. I'ma just be honest with you. They shouldn't have black jerseys on. They should just let that color go. Cause I thought this shit was in black and white. I thought this was in black and white. This is a headband. We don't know. We can't, no facial features right here. Look, like this right here. Look. I'ma just say that's the picture. Cause this right here.
Really, Gil? That's what you felt like it was necessary to say. I would say you watched the games and that's what you came out with, but you've openly admitted that you're not even watching these games. So that's what you wanted to say. Now, for people out there who do not know, I don't know why this is surprising to you all. I've been saying this for the past year and a half now. Gil, bro, he's xenophobic. He has certain comments and statements about certain players in the NBA who are foreign-born players, and some of the shit he says is wild. It's mind-blowing. It literally doesn't make any sense. Everything from mislabeling where certain players are from, and especially if you're not a Euro, he still lumps you in with a bunch of European players, to the idea that you should just completely ban all Europeans or ban all foreigners from the NBA just to try to prove a point about how bad defense is. And you know what's even crazy to me? People saw these clips and for whatever reason, they're surprised about what he just said about South Sudan. Instead of actually congratulating, talking about them, bigging them up, especially because of the effort that they provided on that basketball floor, instead of doing that, you make fun of them and their struggle that actually built up the pride for them to go out and compete with Americans. I don't understand how you come to that conclusion at all. And what's even crazier is that some of these things that you think are jokes, and I understand Gil has a warped perception of humor, dark humor, I get it, understandable so, but some of these things are just factually incorrect. Now sure, in South Sudan, not the greatest place to live, definitely is dealing with a lot, and I do mean a lot, especially since the war. And because of that, it is easy to come to a conclusion that a lot of these players on the team weren't able to play basketball and grow up in a society, in a place where it was giving them the set amount of privilege to be really great at it. So how is it even possible that they're supposed to compete with us? And to be fair to Gil, a lot of things he said in that clip is factually correct about the South Sudanese people. They did grow up in those environments. So the concept of having basketball being played at any high level is non-existent. But the problem is that the players on the roster did not play or grow up in that environment. Some of the players weren't even born in South Sudan, and even more of them, if they were born in South Sudan, they moved somewhere else later on in life, especially when they started to grow and mature and got a little bit more interested in basketball. And so I think it's only 1 or 2 players who actually spent a huge portion of their life in South Sudan, or at least in the region, the vicinity in Africa. So the idea that these players oh my God, they grew up so poor and they didn't have XYZ, that's not the case, bro. Many of these players moved out of South Sudan, or some of them are not even born in South Sudan. They're just representing it because 2 things, obviously, their lineage and where they're from, some of their background, their parents, etc., etc. But 2, and more importantly, it's because they're trying to represent a country that needs some form of representation in the highest order, because they did come from a place of lacking privilege where they didn't have the opportunity, they didn't have the facilities, they didn't have the tools to their disposal for them to be able to play at certain levels. Matter of fact, the South Sudanese team has just existed, I think, in like 2011. This is a fairly new concept of basketball being played at this level for this country. So to mock them for that is crazy.
We don't have any indoor basketball courts in our country. We don't have anything like that. We're a bunch of refugees that came together for a few weeks out of the year that over here trying our best, playing against some of the best players ever. And, this is much bigger than basketball for us. So to show that people that we compete and understand that, the hoops in Africa is something of the future, that, it's only a matter of time before the next generation gets built up. There's a billion people in the country that's no different than any one of us. We've been able to represent us and get to this level based off just our opportunities, being able to have different facilities. There's some tall kid back in the village. I remember I went back home to South Sudan to visit them, and they didn't have any opportunity, 7 feet tall, and they're herding cow. Some people around the world don't have the opportunity to play basketball for a living, to go shoot hoops. Some people have to go fish for food. You have to go herd cow. You got to do different things just to survive. So I think today was an example, and it was also something to bring us together. We've been a war-torn country. We've gone through a lot every single year. We've been a lot of bloodshed, and for us to have something to come together, us to stop with tribalism and looking at each other like we're different. And it's a small country. There's only 11 million people in South Sudan, but today we was all able to be united as one, and we just hope that we can continue to do different things in the future to be united, keep building our country, so one day that we can be really proud of saying that we're from South Sudan.
Shout out to William Gabriel, because I think he actually made a really, really valid point that these are a group of men, many of which are refugees, who escaped what was going on, a lot of conflict, and came back together to represent a country that has a lot of potential, because there are several people in the continent of Africa in particular, but several people who are not given the privilege to play basketball at a very high level, and to go out there and to represent in the way they did. That is something that we all should be applauding, even if you are an American, especially because these games don't matter. These games do not go down as games that really count. These are preliminary games, basically preseason games. No one should really care about it. This should be a moment that you applaud a group of men for actually trying their hardest to represent a country that needs better representation at this level. And you can clearly see that for a group of men who were born in some level of disadvantage and had to escape it, for them to be able to perform at this level, again, great representation, and you applaud them for it. But for Gil to take it another route, disappointing, but quite frankly expected based off of a lot of things he's been saying over the past 12 to 18 months now. And so that's the reason why I and many other people have consistently said a lot of what he says is xenophobic. It has xenophobic undertones. You all keep writing it off as, oh, it's just edgy jokes. It's just like, nah, bro, like this is how a lot of people, especially of Gil's age, at that era of basketball, who talked poorly about Europeans, how soft they were, how they performed and played, put a lot of just stereotypes on players that turned out to be really, really great throughout NBA history, such as a Dirk Nowitzki. But you do those things because you are xenophobic. Like, that's just how a lot of people think and talk. And it doesn't mean it's acceptable, but it is what it is. And I'm not going to sit here and waste your time and my time chatting for like 8 minutes straight about why this is bad. We all know why it's bad. It was African jokes in Big 2024. Like, none of that shit was funny. And for those who are wondering, yes, he did make a public apology on his community tab. However, he went live later on and discussed it a little bit more and still doesn't feel like he's remorseful. Honestly, it just comes across like he just doesn't give a fuck.
I guess the internet is just crazy everywhere now. I barely get internet in my damn house, let alone wherever they were. That's crazy. I'm more mad because I'm more mad because it's like, first of all, y'all didn't even know Sudan had a team. Now y'all all mad. Y'all mad. We supposed to, as soon as we see South Sudan, the money line was 400. We supposed to win by 400 points. Now y'all want to be Team Sudan. Y'all crazy. Y'all didn't know not one motherfucker on the team. Y'all didn't even know the best player was the G League MVP. But y'all mad. Last Thursday, everybody like, oh shit, Sudan, Team Sudan. y'all, I'm not. Something wrong with y'all being out here fake mad.
So again, Gil doesn't care. I don't have to go into any details of why. It doesn't really matter if you know or don't know these players. You can be offended by just completely belittling them and undermining their talent, their skill, their passion, their hard work and determination for the sport of basketball. And to me, in all honesty, that's my biggest issue with what Gilbert Arenas is saying. The thing that many people gravitate to Gilbert Arenas and his podcast, King and Martin, Brandon Jennings, shout out to McCann, et cetera, is that we are getting coverage or a report or some type of understanding of basketball through a different different lens. And in my opinion, I believe that's the whole purpose of ex-NBA Players Podcast, right? You are providing us with something that we were not getting before. And in essence, it's also supposed to be better than what mainstream media is normally providing. And I actually applaud that. I champion that. Obviously, I am an independent content creator myself. So of course, I love that. I applaud it. And for an entity like Gilbert Arenas, who has been talking ad nauseum about the lack of passion and skill aggressiveness that has been played in today's game, to see it from another country, I'm not saying you have to sit here and just root for them, but at least acknowledge that that's what they did. But again, you are not watching the games. You admitted it yourself. And matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, I think even Kenyon Martin admitted it himself as well.
Don't blame Embiid. Bron had to save 80 ass again. Man, listen, I don't know who had to save who because I didn't get to watch it, but I can tell you this, man.
In all honesty, this is where I think it veers left, because Gilbert Arenas saying xenophobic things and potentially being xenophobic, that's not anything new. I've been saying that again for a year now. But to literally do the thing that you've been complaining about mainstream media doing, which is commenting about something that you are ill-informed about, makes no sense at all. And respectfully, that's literally what they've been doing this entire time coveraging Olympic basketball. Everything they've been saying over the past week or so, and I'm saying this because I support, I watch. I'm not going to say I don't watch it because, again, I like to get some type of insight. And I do believe you all have provided insight, especially with Summer League. McCann had a really great take about why Alex Sarr is struggling, and I never even viewed it from that perspective. So there's things to gain. And to be fair, I think that they were in Vegas coveraging Summer League a little bit more intensely. So to be fair to them on that. But every video that they've been uploading about Olympic basketball, you can clearly tell they're not watching it because they're saying things that are complete opposite of what's actually happening.
Right? That's a good point.
If you're a free agent,
that's a good point.
If you're a free agent and I'm looking to sign you, obviously I'm gonna play you a little bit more. If you've been killing my team all season, I don't fuck with you. I'm not gonna fuck with you on the USA team. Who is Golden State's biggest enemy right now? Who? What team?
Minnesota.
Who did they have beef with all fucking year?
Yeah.
Who's the best player on that team? Who's the nigga that been talking shit to us? I can't wait for that smoke.
Fucking around with him now.
And obviously it's the same motherfucker that be getting benched. And you need to come off the bench for Rudio Gonzalez. Who the fuck is Rudio Gonzalez? Nigga we about to bring in. They'll bench him for anybody, dog.
That is such a terrible take. Anyone coming away from Team USA basketball and believing why is Anthony Edwards bench, it's just ridiculous. Yes, there were a lot of conversations going on about Anthony Edwards and his position in the starting lineup before we got to these games, about how he was going to be a starter coming off the bench, and a whole quote about Kobe and Wade, and also him being the number one option, etc., etc. But if you've watched even a glimpse of it, you would never even say anything close to what they are alluding to. This big conspiracy theory about, he not giving him minutes, he's suppressing him. No, he's not, bro. He's playing the second most minutes on the team. He's tied for the most amount of shots on the roster. And when you take into consideration how often he's getting to the free throw line, how often he's handling the ball, which also results in a lot of turnovers as well, bro, Anthony Edwards might have the greenest of lights of anyone on this team not named LeBron in the fourth quarter. Anthony Edwards does. So this idea that he's just suppressing him, he's not playing, he's giving him the PT, he's giving more PT than basically everybody else on the team. He's not being suppressed. But when you don't watch the games, you turn around and make statements like this that are completely inaccurate, or you just make jokes about another team in their country, where they come from, their struggles, and believe that you're just trying to be funny to fill out a void of time that you need to talk about something. That's all you do. So my challenge to Gilbert Arenas is not to be xenophobic. I've been sitting here trying to tell you all that for literally a year now. He's been doing this for over a year. Some of the most ridiculous takes I've ever heard in my lifetime about any of these players, and getting away with what he's saying because you all didn't really care because it wasn't as blatant as this time it was. And so when it comes to Gil, I'm not really challenging him not to be xenophobic. He's been doing this for a year now. I don't know why y'all think that I was gonna come up here and really go back and forth and give details about the team. No, bro, y'all know that what he's saying is crazy. It's not funny. Big 2024 making African jokes. Nobody, no, that's not funny. And to sit here and to believe that he's not going to be xenophobic, that he's not going to continue to make these jokes when he's just writing it off as him being funny. I don't know what y'all want. I don't know what y'all think that I'm going to sit here and say that's going to change it. He's been doing it for a year now. But what I am going to say is, Gil, you cannot sit here and mock the media for making assessments on games and players without them watching or researching it or having little to no experience about it, while you have been doing the exact same thing when y'all been covering Olympic basketball. And so because you're not watching it, you make crazy statements about Anthony Edwards and his playing time and what he looks like on the floor and where he's at, even though he's receiving as many minutes, as many shots, as many ball touches as really anybody else, or you just joke around about an African team that really played their heart out. But you can't give an actual assessment or break down the game because you didn't watch it. You sound like the same media members that you joke about all the time. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the subscribe button, notification bell, and until next time, I'll see you all later. Peace.